Welcome to another episode of Tones and Tunes. I am your host, Arielle Silver. I am broadcasting from my little she shed in my Los Angeles, California backyard. And I'm a songwriter, a book lover, and a yogi. And I just love these weekly, almost weekly conversations with songwriters from all around the world. This week, my guest is really from the other side of the world. It is not even sunup time where she is. She is tuning in from Perth, Western Australia. My guest is Natalie D-Napoleon, and I'm very excited to talk with her about a number of things because she also lives at that intersection, that crossroads between music and literary work and yoga. It's pretty cool to find someone on the other side of the world who's kind of circling around the same tri-orbit system that I am. I'm really happy to be back too. We took off last week. I was on tour, a little short mini stint in Arizona, and it was so great to cross the state line and to just be traveling and playing a string of shows. It was really awesome to see just like a different landscape than what I have been seeing for the last 2 years here in Southern California, which is, by the way, absolutely stunning, of course. But Arizona, you really brought it. Those sunsets, oh man. All right, enough of that. I am bringing in Natalie D-Napoleon from Australia. She's coming in right now. Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
Almost.
You get Serious Gold Stars, the prize for being, first of all, my first guest on this show from Australia, and second of all, the earliest tuning in guest of the 92 episodes that we've had so far. So thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Appreciate it. And also during soundcheck, you sounded really lovely. Absolutely lovely. That's
thank
impressive.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the cup of tea I had before I started singing helped.
I think that would definitely help. I would have had to wake up an hour earlier, around 3:00 in the morning just to have a couple of cups of coffee first. So, it's funny, when I was years and years ago, I lived in Boston, and there was this radio station that I loved. I listened to it every morning, coming out of Emerson College in Boston, called WERS. And they had the early morning coffee house hour, and they always had, it was a couple hours show, I think, but they always had, or often had, a songwriter guest come in live. And I remember thinking about that as I was getting dressed to go to my day job, like, wow, that person, Chris Delmhurst or whoever is the guest on the show today, they had to start singing, full-on singing at 8:00 in the morning, and yet here you are at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, kind of helps. I've been doing this for a long time. But
yeah, totally.
And I've done lots of radio and, podcasts and all these kinds of things. So yeah, it does help.
You have the experience. Laura Hemingway says, Natalie,
nice.
heart, thumb up, smiley face. So
hi, Laura. She played on my album. She played accordion on my album.
Fabulous. Laura, where's Laura based? Is that Australia or is that here in the States?
Santa Barbara, California.
Okay, I had a feeling it was the Laura that I knew. That's pretty cool. You lived here for a while.
Yeah, 12 years.
Where'd you live?
I lived in Santa Barbara, California.
Santa Barbara. How did you end up in Santa Barbara?
I fell in love with an Australian who was living there. Well, this was before I fell in love with him. We had this long-distance relationship. Well, we had a long-distance friendship, let's say.
Okay, we'll say that.
I went to Santa Barbara to spend some time with him, and one thing turned into another, and we got married, and we had a kid, and I moved to the States.
Wow. Well, you could have picked worse places than Santa Barbara to end up for a while.
The other day I was kind of having this, daydream I was fantasizing about walking the streets of Santa Barbara and just visualizing it and everything and just missing it so desperately.
Yeah. I'm going to be not far from there on Saturday. I'm playing in Ojai. Did you spend any time in Ojai?
Oh yeah, I love Ojai.
Yeah. It's a cute town, right? Very pretty.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Great farmers market.
Yeah.
I love that it's surrounded by those hills and all those orchards. Yeah.
Yeah. The golden hour at the end of the day. It's just stunning in Ojai. The golden hills. Yeah. So we were talking before the show about, or before we went live, about the COVID times on your side of the world. And I want to hear more about that, but we got you up so early in the morning. Would you be willing to start off with a song?
Sure.
Yay.
Oh, this one will really wake people up. This is Thunder Rumour. It's the hi, Kathy's on. Oh my goodness, this is my friend in Australia. So she's gotten up at 5 a.m., 5:08 a.m. to listen. This song is called Thunder Rumour. It's the opening track on my album. You wanted to be the shore, but instead you were the sea. I'm going to take out one earbud so I can hear myself.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Set fire to your clothes on the front lawn. You said, babe, I can find any port in the storm. The phone is telling me that you're coming home. Every time it rings, my blood turns cold. My blood turns cold. My blood turns cold. My blood turns cold. Are you coming home? I heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor that you're coming home. I don't want to see you anymore. You think I'm yours and you're mine. Baby, we were never meant for rain or shine. Lock the windows, bolt the door. Love, don't live here anymore. Don't leave here. Don't live here. Don't live here anymore. I heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor that you're coming home. But our love don't live here anymore. Ooh, 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 heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor. Heard a thunder rumor that you're coming home. But our love don't live here anymore. Ooh, 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 ooh,
Right on. Yes. So good. Thank you. I'll let you untangle your earbuds. Mm. So
Hello.
good.
I had to put my headphones back in. They came out.
That was beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
Thunder Rumor. Where did that idea come from?
Oh my gosh, it's such a great story. When I was working at the Writing Center at in Santa Barbara, in the Santa Barbara City College, my boss knocked on the door one day, and I thought she said, "I heard a thunder rumor," and I was like, "Thunder rumor?" And then we started chatting about something else, and the second she left the room, I like scribbled this down. I heard a thunder rumor. And then I started Googling it because I thought it was some American idiom or phrase that I wasn't aware of. And when I saw that it wasn't, I just had it sitting there on this scrap of paper and took it home and kind of, I don't know, it sat there for a few months and I was flicking through my writing notebook and found this scrap of paper and formed a song around it.
What does it mean to you, that idea?
So for me, I'm a feminist and I truly believe in kind of everything I do. I'm trying to forward the lives of women and speak to our struggles and everything we've fought against and overcome. And I read this statistic that the most dangerous time in a woman's life is when she leaves a relationship, and her chances of being murdered are something like, I don't know what the statistic was, 10 or 20-fold than when she's just going about her life normally.
Wow.
And I just thought I wanted to write a song about this. So Thunder Rumor is about a fictional character, somebody trying to escape an abusive relationship. And what a dangerous time that is, and the Thunder Rumor is, to my mind, the dangerous time.
Yeah. Wow, that's a sobering statistic, huh?
Yeah, again, I can't remember where I read it, and I tried to kind of find the statistic again. I couldn't find it anywhere, but I think there's no doubt that
Yeah.
particularly, and it wouldn't be just women, but people that have particularly possessive personalities
Yeah.
don't want to let someone leave a relationship.
Right. Yeah, I'm not married to the exact statistic, but just I guess the idea of it, which resonates as completely true. And both parts of that are disturbing. That it is true, but also that it resonates as true. It's like, yeah, we know that to be true. Wow, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you heard that from your colleague who knocked on the door, and then you put it in your writing notebook. What is your writing notebook like? What does it like actually physically look like? Is it you said it was a scrap of paper, so it's not just a virtual notebook. It's not just a memo on your phone.
Oh no, it's got to be something physical. It's those books. I first bought them in the US. They have the beautiful covers, and all the colleges have them. There's like artwork and drawings on the covers.
Like a composition book?
That's
Okay.
it.
Oh, it is?
Composition book. They're the ones I use.
That's not something that is typical in Australia?
No.
I had no idea that was particular to the US. That's interesting.
Well, whatever that brand is that does the composition books that are on sale.
I know which ones
like
you're
college,
talking about.
Yeah, college bookshops. And I had, my latest one has saguaro cacti drawn on the cover. And so my notebook looks like I'm a terribly inconsistent journaler. So it's got journal entries, it's got scraps of poems, it's got scraps of songs, it's got quotes that people say that either I heard correctly or misheard. I heard a thunder rumor. I really don't know what my boss really said, but
to this day we will never know. Doesn't matter. It served its purpose.
Yeah, famous quotes, inspirational quotes from artists. I think last time I wrote something down. It was a quote from Roxane Gay. Scraps of paper I might paste in my notebook. Yeah.
I'm curious about that Roxane Gay quote. She's brilliant, and has a lot of fantastic quotes. Do you remember what it is?
Oh, again, I'd have to grab my notebook, but it
Yeah.
was just something about how she's writing movie scripts, she's writing books, she's running a publishing imprint at the moment, and it was just something about how hard she works, or how she juggles all these things that she does.
I am contrary to how you described yourself, I am a really disciplined journaler. I write every morning, and I, I have not always been that disciplined, but I have kept journals my whole life. And I just saw those cacti that you have depicted on the cover of your composition book. I was in Arizona. I keep wanting to say Australia. I was in Arizona last weekend, and in the Sonoran Desert, and my mom lives there now. And I uncovered in her home a box with my very first journals, and I brought them back here to Los Angeles to look at later. But they're sitting right here, a collection of 5 spiral-bound notebooks that I wrote in when I was in high school, and I have no idea what's going to be inside those covers. And I was not a disciplined journaler at the time, but that's really where my journaling started. When did you start journaling?
I think it was in my teens as well.
Yeah.
And inspired by reading Anais Nin. I think I read her work when I started university, so I was 18 or something.
Yeah.
And but again, I had different periods where I journaled every night, and then kind of didn't journal for months or years, and then returned to it. But I've always had a writer's notebook.
Yeah. How do you decide what those little scraps of things become? Since you're a poet, how do you decide? Oh, Thunder Rumor is going to be a song, versus something else is going to become a poem.
I don't think it's a decision. I think it's just what calls to you and draws you. I think creativity is a play between your rational mind and your intuition. So, my intuition heard that, and my rational mind said, write that down and think about that and return to it. And then, again, my intuition just went, this is great. Use this, lady. Write a song about it.
Is it possible that when you wrote Thunder Rumor, before your conscious mind really got involved with it, do you feel like it already had that melody to it that you repeat with that word? Did your subconscious already have some kind of melody, so that when you decided to actually sit down and write that song, it came with it, and so therefore it became a song versus a poem? Is that possible?
No, it's just I just pick up my guitar and I play, and again, it's kind of what comes from the stream through the guitar. And if the words and the melody I'm playing, or the chord progression I'm playing, kind of mix together, the song will happen pretty quickly. If it's not happening, I'll just move on to something else. So I'm not a songwriter who has a melody in my mind and then it will just come out in my guitar. I need to have the guitar in my hands and just be playing and see where my fingers and my ears take me.
I'm the same way, usually. Sometimes I have a melody and I record it into my phone, but those memos almost never, if never, become a song. A song only really comes to fruition if it comes out of holding the guitar and the melody emerges in those moments.
Yeah, that's how it works for me.
Yeah. So things were locked down for you because of COVID since from the beginning of when did the lockdown start? Was it March of 2020 like it was here?
Honestly, I just lost track. Our state, Western Australia, is 3 times the size of Texas and has a population of around 1.5 million, or just over 1.5 million people. A million of those people live in Perth, the capital. Yeah. The rest are spread over that 3 times the size of Texas. Yeah, remotely and in remote communities and small towns. And and most of our income's from mining. for the state, and our premier, who's the equivalent of a governor in the US, he decided to lock down our state, to close our borders, to create borders that previously weren't there, and border checkpoints and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was a couple of years. Yeah, you mentioned, we were talking before, and you said, I might hear a plane flying above, and I was like, planes, what are they?
So,
I've
I mean, is the
forgotten.
air traffic back for you, or is it when did
It,
it come back?
we only opened again like a month or 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
We
Okay.
only opened the state to interstate and international visitors again. Before that, it was just a trickle of people coming through who had to
And
quarantine for 2 weeks as well.
that's right.
Everyone who came into the state had to quarantine for 2 weeks from outside the state for
Could
those
you
two
have
years.
left your state during this time?
We could have, but the problem was trying to get back in because of the
Right.
limited flights.
Yeah.
So some people got stuck out of Western Australia for months, who went
Wow.
to visit elderly relatives or sick relatives or family. It's been a kind of interesting and tough time, like it has been for everyone in the world.
What was life like in Perth during that time when the borders to the state were closed? But I mean, was it full activity within the state? Normal life, more or
Yeah,
less, just no crossing, through the borders?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was it. The state went on as normal,
Oh,
and a lot more people travelled within our state. We did too. The two flights I caught in that time, one of them was to a place called Exmouth, which is in the northwest of Western Australia, and to see Ningaloo Reef, and it's one of, or the world's largest fringing reef, which means it fringes the shore.
huh.
And yeah, we went there and we went snorkeling, and it's just this stunning, beautiful place,
Wow.
as beautiful as the Great Barrier Reef, but not many people know about it because it's a lot more remote and difficult to get to.
Wow. And what was the other flight?
Briefly, we were open to South Australia, and we had always wanted to drive across the Nullarbor. So my husband particularly, organised this meticulous trip where we would drive across the Nullarbor from Western Australia to South Australia and go into the deep outback
Wow.
of South Australia and do this kind of big loop. And then he was going to drive back home on his own. He wanted to do some more photographing. He's a photographer. And he dropped my son and I in Adelaide, and we caught a flight home from
Ah.
Adelaide to Perth. So we're on a plane for a couple of hours or something again.
Wow. And so within Perth, your son kept going to
Yeah.
school as normal throughout all of COVID. Stores were open, restaurants open, live music, all of that, or were things
We
closed?
we did have a bunch of lockdowns, and that was difficult. And
Mm.
we had a short period of homeschooling during a couple of lockdowns, which was a nightmare, as most people discovered as well. So
Right.
my husband and I are both teachers. He's a science teacher, I'm an English teacher, and neither of us could teach our 11-year-old.
Wow. Why is that?
Oh, because kids just
Personalities.
don't want to be taught by their parents.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of challenges over the last few years. Um,
Yeah.
from a live music standpoint, do you perform a lot? And were you performing during this time? Were you doing live streams? What was your music life like?
Yeah, I do try to perform as much as I can. I did a Folk Alliance International live stream with
Yeah.
my friend Kathy playing viola.
With
We did a
Folk
couple.
Unlocked? Is that what it
Yeah,
was? Yeah, I did the Folk Unlocked thing. Yeah,
hmm
last
that was
year.
really fun.
It
Yeah,
was
so we
fun.
did that. And there's this wonderful folk festival here called Fairbridge Festival, and I recorded my album "You Wanted to Be the Shore, but Instead You Were the Sea" in a chapel in Santa Barbara, and we got to play Fairbridge Folk Festival here in Western Australia, and we got the premier Supremo slot playing the chapel at the festival. So that was really wonderful.
Wow, very
And yeah,
cool.
just just a few other shows here and there in Western Australia, kind of when we can, dodging lockdowns. You know, I had a few shows I had to cancel when we got locked down and reschedule, and again, same as everyone else, just the roller coaster ride of life in COVID.
Yeah. Well, now that you're based in Australia, you said that you're a dual citizen, is that right? Between Australia and the U.S.? COVID aside, now that you're based in Australia, do you still come back to the States to perform, or do you mostly focus on Australia and hope to get back here at some point or something like that?
I am planning to return to the States to perform because my album is out to US radio on the 22nd of April.
Great.
And to UK and Europe radio on the 29th of April. So, so let's see what happens. But definitely planning to come home to see our wonderful friends. And my cat's here on my lap. I'm giving her you can see her ear. Oh, here she is. She's hiding from the camera. Yeah, so definitely planning to come home to the States and perform. Hoping to get on and play Americana Fest, and so let's see what happens.
Yeah. So you're not coming to Folk Alliance though, in May.
No, I won't make.
Are you going to do the live? I mean the live stream version of it, the hybrid version?
Not this year, no.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting.
What about you? Are you going to?
I am. I'm going to Kansas City, and that will be the first flight that I'm taking since I flew back from New Orleans Folk Alliance in 2020. That was the last flight I was on, and that was in January 2020. Mm-hmm. So, that's kind of funny. I didn't realize until just now that Folk Alliance is kind of bookending both sides of that. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. I'm sure that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll see. It should be interesting. We're in a time of transition. So this is obviously Tomes and Tunes, and I'm so thrilled that you are a certified book lover. You like to read. Mm-hmm. You are a poet. You teach writing. What have you been reading just in general? What do you like to read? What have you been reading during, the last 2 years?
So normally I have a pile beside my bed, and I am a very promiscuous reader. That's the best way I can think of to describe it, honestly. I normally have a poetry book, a fiction book, and some sort of non-fiction book.
Yeah.
I had Rebecca Solnit's Men Explain Things to Me.
I just finished reading her A Field Guide to Getting Lost. I was talking about that on the last episode.
I love that
here.
book.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful book.
And I have Men Explain Things to Me on my nightstand. I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I've really enjoyed that. And then recently I've got Louise Gluck's collected works.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, every poem I read, Gluck is one of those people, it's kind of like Gillian Welch and David Rawlings. When you hear them perform, you think, I just don't think I'll bother writing any more songs. You read Louise Gluck.
Yeah. How do you get past that like reactionary thought that rises up that, I've had it too. How do you get past that? Because obviously you do.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. The only way I get past that is to tell myself, look, you've got your own voice and you can only say things your own way. You can't be Gillian Welch when you pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
And I cannot be Louise Gluck when I write a poem. But I also, 2 ways I overcome that. 2 ways. One, by admiring that person like you would admire a beautiful sunset, and just this is beautiful what they do. And I'm just going to love this and not be jealous of it. And then the second way is just to tell yourself that, I can only have my own voice and I can only say things the way I can say them. And that's why I love them, because they know who they are and they express that. Louise Gluck through her poetry, Gillian Welch and David Rawlings through their impeccable, perfect, songs and recordings. So,
yeah. Yeah, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking that when we have that feeling of, oh, this person is, the bullseye of what I love, just the center of the universe, what I wish I was. There's almost like a hoarding sort of sense. Like I want to love them, I want to be them. I will give up if I cannot become that. If I can't, and I can't, and like we can't. We have to be ourselves. That's kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah. And then what was the oh, you were asking what else I was reading. And then so when I'm writing poetry,
Yeah,
I like to read fiction and not read poetry. Um,
that makes sense to me.
and yeah, oh, there's another plane.
Yep.
How cool is that?
Yeah, this is my the Burbank flight path is my co-pilot for this, my co-host for this show.
Yeah. What were we talking about earlier? Oh yes, I'm reading Station 11,
Tell me
and
about that.
that's
I just finished that one on Audible while I was driving. Tell me, where are you? What are your thoughts of that?
100 pages in, and I watched the series
Ah,
first
I haven't seen the
before reading the
series.
book,
Okay.
and I just totally fell in love with it.
Ah.
So now
Oh.
I'm doing this is different from the series of what, the book is, the
Oh.
plot of the book from the TV series. So.
As I've been reading the book, well, I say reading, of course, listening. But as I've been going through it, I'm aware that there's a series out there, and I've wondered, how is this translating to the screen? What have they done? What is this? You know? So interesting. So you fell in love with the series.
Oh, it's just, I thought I'd hate it because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and of course, Station 11's written in 2014
I know about
about
a
a flu.
flu pandemic from the country of Georgia.
Yeah, but it's just,
It's so close. Yeah, I had no idea actually when I picked it up that it was about a pandemic. Didn't know. And then I started reading it and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I would have picked this up if I had
hmm
known, but actually I'm glad I did."
I just adore the series and the book, and
Hmm.
I can't put them down. But when that happens, I try and stretch out what I'm reading because
Yeah.
I want to enjoy it. Yeah.
Um Something that I felt about the book, and I wondered if this is something that has come across in the series. In the end, I felt that the book was um, essentially an homage to the power of art.
hmm
Um, does that does that come across in the series?
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Okay.
Is you know um, as a lot of artists have proven during COVID time, just the most wonderful thing is, for me, what I kind of said to a lot of people after we were in our first lockdown is, look at what people turn to.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about music they were listening to,
Yeah.
movies they were watching. People who I didn't know liked poetry were sharing poetry.
Yeah.
And I just said, I think people are finally realizing that art is like the air we breathe. We cannot live without it.
Yeah.
Our souls, our human spirits need it. And I wish we were treated and elevated and as if we were engineers mining some essential material that we need to function in our modern world. I wish artists and poets and writers were thought of the same way. You are engineering and digging out these creative ideas that we need so much to exist and live in this world. And that was, how Station 11 made me feel. That even when the whole world crumbles apart, they're traveling through the apocalyptic wasteland, still performing Shakespeare plays and bringing joy and tears and release and expression to
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
And
And the comic book, the graphic novel that threads from before the pandemic started through the pandemic to this, protagonist who's living 20 years post-pandemic. It really sustains her, and it literally saves lives.
Yes.
And I loved that it wasn't. I don't think about graphic novels that often. Right now, I'm thinking about them because I'm teaching a memoir class this summer, and I want to include a graphic memoir in the syllabus, and so I'm sort of reviewing some graphic memoirs right now. But for the most part, I do not tend toward graphic novels or comic books or anything like that. I'm a word on the page, white space, black ink kind of girl, and but I loved that was part of it, along with Shakespeare and the symphony.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
I could watch the whole series again now, and the way, because I'm reading the book now, the graphic novel is written about but not depicted, with pictures and as a graphic novel in the book.
Yeah.
So being able to see that in the series
was
magnificent.
I've wondered about that part too.
Yeah, and the illustrations and everything are really wonderful.
Huh. The Queen's Gambit, I read that book before watching the series. Did you read or watch it?
I have seen The Queen's Gambit, yeah. I haven't read that book though.
The storyline is very similar, but her character is very different. And it's funny when you have that, like, it's almost like cognitive dissonance. It's like it's like a singular person, but you simultaneously see them from, through the lens of the book and through the lens of the series or the movie. And it's this weird thing that this one person can be these two different people simultaneously in the mind.
Yeah, interesting. Sometimes that can be good or bad, especially if you fall in love with the character in the book.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued about the series of Station 11 now. This is the first time I've even had a conversation with someone about it, so...
I'd highly recommend it.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. You also you showed me a Jeff Tweedy book. I'm a fan of Wilco, love Jeff Tweedy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen Wilco perform, actually, but I've seen all of the members of Wilco perform, just not all together. So How to Write One Song. Tell me about that. Nice cover.
Yeah. Jeff Tweedy, he's an interesting character. I wrote a song on my last album, Leaving Me Dry, which was inspired by a dream I had. I was having an affair with Jeff Tweedy. Anyway, that was kind of a fun dream, but, a dream.
Wait, what's the name of the song?
The song's called The Deep Blue Sky.
Okay.
It kind of opens with this line, you grabbed me and held me tight. It said, don't leave, don't go outside tonight, But, Tweedy's an interesting character. He's very self-disparaging. But sometimes I found it endearing in How to Write One Song, and sometimes I found it annoying, and I felt like it was a ruse he was putting on to kind of, appear less threatening or something. But yeah, he cracks me up.
Because Jeff Tweedy is incredibly threatening.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he is. He's a funny guy. So I enjoyed this because I used some of his tips to write songs. Oh, did you want me to read a passage?
Yeah, please do. I had wondered if it actually was a craft book about songwriting, or if it was just, if it was a celebrity memoir, essentially.
No. He did a celebrity memoir before this, which of course I have a copy of and I've read.
Yeah.
Which actually I didn't mind. Yeah, it was good. It was a good fun read, especially being a fan of Wilco. Yeah, this is a craft book. It actually, and for a beginner songwriter, I would highly recommend it. For seasoned songwriters, again, you'll get a few really good tips out of it, and it's kind of a combo of memoir and songwriting advice. It's interesting how he's done it. But this bit of advice I really, really love. Ah, yes. Also, do you think that everybody who writes songs started off great, that their songs were great? That is definitely not the case. You have to sound bad to sound good. even if you've written 500 songs, being willing to sound bad is one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give you. Writing a song will teach you that it's okay to fail. I underlined that.
Mm-hmm.
And more than that, that it's actually good to fail and that you can come to appreciate the gifts of failure. Anyway, he goes on about that for a bit more, but I think that's really wonderful.
Yeah, right on. There's so many, I'm sure you have this in your writing students. I have it in my writing students. So many people who are afraid to write that thing that they want to write because they're afraid that they can't get it right. And really you just have to write it and then write the next thing and write the next thing, right? Like just, I feel like I'm saying the word right, both R and WR, too many times in this little statement. You take the microphone, Natalie. Now I'm tripping out on the word right.
Yeah. Well, oh, it's afternoon for you. That's right. It's still only 5:45 in the morning here for me.
That's right.
What was I going to say? You have to, basically what Tweety's saying is advice that I've heard from other writers, which is you have to give yourself permission to write a bad first draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I have Anne Lamott's shitty first drafts right here.
Yeah, and you know, for many years it held me back wanting to be perfect. But once that advice sunk into me and I threw off that desire or that, I call it an errant belief, this errant belief that if the first draft I wrote or the first thing I picked up my guitar and played didn't sound perfect, then I'd just put it down and not write a song.
Right.
And once I learnt that, you know, it's okay to fail, it's okay to sound bad, it's okay to write a bad first draft. You pick up your guitar, you write a few lines that sound terrible, you keep going, and maybe 10, 20 minutes down the track or an hour down the track, something comes out that sounds good. And you just have to let the other stuff happen and give yourself permission to.
I think that vision of doing something perfectly is a beautiful vision, but the problem is the impatience to want to do it perfectly right now. Versus letting that, whatever that image of perfection is, or you know, whatever that is, let it reside down the road and keep that as the destination, you know, and then just start taking steps toward that destination.
Perfection you can aim for at the end when you're polishing,
right?
You know, but at the beginning you've got to allow for mistakes and circling around things and
or even you know, once you're a seasoned writer, songwriter, or otherwise seasoned artist, you have some control over your craft, and so you might get what you call, you know, perfection or something like that within that hour or, you know, session, month, however long it takes you to do the thing that you're doing. But when you're first starting out, I'm thinking back to when I was in Arizona last week at my mom's. I brought back with me a bunch of copies of my very first album, which came out in '99. And I think that there's some value to it. I remember when I first recorded that album, for years afterwards, there were some people that came to me and said, "Oh, I really love that song. Will you play that song that was on this first album?" And I never play any of those songs. I couldn't possibly. I haven't listened to the album, you know, in 20 years. Don't really know it. I can't listen to it. You know, it's so far from the vision of what I want it to be. But it was the important first step along that path as an artist.
You've got to start somewhere.
You've got to start.
We all have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I remind myself of is that when, you know, I read someone like a Louise Gluck or whatever, and I'm like, I'm never going to write poetry again. Is I have to tell myself, well, I wasn't born a genius, you know, and whatever it is, 0.01% of people are born geniuses, and they pick up a pencil and, you know, they can sketch like, you know, Picasso or whatever, or they, you know, they start writing and they sound like someone who's won the Nobel Prize from, you know, the very first poem they wrote or whatever. But yeah, I just tell myself, look, the 90, whatever it is, 99.07% of the rest of us.
Yeah, for the rest of us.
Just have to work and keep polishing and rewriting to make that thing good. Or, you know, we have to work on improving our skills.
Yeah.
You know, again, just think of writing songs or poetry or creative nonfiction as a skill that you just keep honing and polishing and attempting to get better at.
Maybe that obstacle that's in people's paths, when they're starting out, they want to achieve perfectionism right away. Maybe the obstacle is that they're afraid that if they write that first song or that first poem or paint that painting, and they're able to look at it afterwards and they see that it's not perfect and it's so far from the vision of what they want to be. Maybe they're afraid of doing that first song because it will be evidence that shows them that they were not one of those born geniuses, that they, you know, so they don't want to they don't want to do that first one because it will like, there's always that possibility, if we don't ever try, that we could do it perfectly. But if we do it and it's not perfect, then there's evidence, and that to me is why the part that's more important than talent is interest. I think that just being interested in writing songs is what has carried me through. You know?
Yeah, well, that was kind of like what I was saying about writing before in Thunder Rumor, and you were like, why did you write about Thunder Rumor? Because it interested me.
Yeah.
It spoke to me. It spoke to my soul. There's an energy to ideas you're interested in.
Yeah.
And if you can grab that energy from, you know, the stream of songs that are up there in the ether, and if you can grab that energy and harness it, you can you wrangle something good that connects with other people, I think.
Yeah, beautifully stated. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you don't write it, Bob Dylan's going to. So
that's right. As I think that you're referencing Elizabeth Gilbert's thing right now. Are you or are you not? Have you seen that TED Talk or read her Big Magic book, where she talks about Leonard Cohen and Tom Waits, and one of them is driving and says, "Oh, go! I can't. I'm driving right now. I can't, you know, write this song that the ether, wants me to write. So go bother someone else. Go bother Bob Dylan." Go bother Natalie D-Napoleon. I'm sleeping right now.
I wish they came to me more often. Like
she's an early riser. Will you play another song? Will you play another song for us?
Sure.
Yay.
All right. Let's do Gasoline and Liquor. This one I co-wrote. This is so I really tried to do something different with this new album. And I'll tell you this. Can I tell you the story about this song?
Yeah,
first?
please do. I love stories.
So you talking about Arizona? My husband and I used to do with our son as well. Lots of road trips out to the southwest of America because we just absolutely adore the desert and southwest. And as you said, the sunsets, the saguaros, the light, the smells of mesquite in the air. And anyway, one time we were out to Joshua Tree, driving down Pear Blossom Highway, and we drove past a gas station, and sign out the front said gasoline and liquor, you know, in those classic bold text.
Yeah.
And I just turned to Brett and I said, "That's a song." And he turned to me and he goes, "Well, you have to write it." And I said, "Oh, I think it's a man's song. I don't know if I can write a song from a man's point of view." And then I turned to him and I said, "I think you need to help me write this song." And anyway, I sat on the idea for a little while, and then one day I emailed him and I said, "Oh, did you remember that gasoline and liquor thing? Send me some lyric ideas and I'll see what I can work with." So he sent me something.
Is he a songwriter? Is he typically a songwriter?
He's a journalist. He's a journalist as well as a photographer and a science teacher.
So not a songwriter.
No.
Okay. But you're like, we're going to co-write this song together.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he sent me some lyrics, and they sounded like a Nick Cave song, and there was something about seersucker suits and men smoking cigars, and I just wrote back to him and I just said, no, no, no. I said, it's got to be about loss and the emptiness of the desert, and you know, stay focused on the gasoline and liquor thing. And then sure enough, he returned these lyrics to me, and I ended up kind of rewriting lines he had written, used his chorus, and it was a genuine co-write. It was like probably about 50% of the lyrics were his, 50% were mine. And it was just, I really enjoyed the process of someone else's ideas and working with them and going back and forth on it.
Yeah.
And so this is it. This is Gasoline and Liquor. I've been driving this. Gotta remember how this song goes. I've been driving this road so long, I don't know when to stop. I've been running away so long, always wanted one more drop. And I've been holding this bottle so long, he named in every song. Gasoline and liquor, one came on fast, the other acted slow. Liquor and gasoline, one made me stay, the other helped you go. And I've been sleeping alone so long, still reach out every night to feel your place. And I've been in this desert so long, I know every constellation's name. And I've been pumping gas so long, he named in every car. Gasoline and liquor, one help me lie, the other's foolproof. Liquor and gasoline, one broke my heart, the other told the truth. Heard you're out in Riverside with a new guy and our oldest kid. Look at the locket of hair in my wallet and ask God forgiveness for what I did. Pour my whiskey down the sink and pray it washes away my sin. Gasoline and liquor, one came on fast, the other acted slow. Liquor and gasoline, one made me stay, the other helped you go.
Yeah. So many good lines in that song.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you repeated those last two lines. One helped me stay, the other helped you go, or maybe I have the
One made
pronouns.
me stay, the other helped you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were some other really good ones as well. I just,
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew says beautiful lyrics. Love it.
he is tuning in from Switzerland, from
Oh, wow.
Basel, I think. So thank you for being here, Andre. Um, um, yeah, I don't know if I would have noticed that sign, but for you, you pulled it out, and it's so. I just love the way that you kind of dive into, what are the, what does liquor do? You say that thing
Yeah.
about the lie and then the truth and then
Hmm.
the gasoline. Like, what is the point of gasoline?
Hmm.
You drive, it fills your car, it make you leave
Yeah.
or make you stay or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank
Yeah,
you for
yeah, that
playing
was
it.
that last chorus you like, that was Brett's lyric.
Mm.
Yeah, so we should praise him for that. That was,
Yay.
yeah, it was really great. And again, like something I wouldn't have thought of as a woman. And he watches Formula One and NASCAR, and so he's got
Yeah.
that link. And what I really enjoy now as a songwriter, much more from when I started out songwriting,
Yeah.
I like inhabiting a character
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
writing from a character point of
Mm.
view and exploring other people's experiences and trying to write from a different point of view. Just anything that pushes me out of my own little bubble.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoyed about writing Gasoline and Liquor, was kind
And
of getting out of my own head and into someone else's.
and I've heard that song. So that's on your new album or
Yes, new
okay.
album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, I've heard that song, and so it was cool to hear the intimate performance
Hmm.
right here. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks.
I guess we're coming up on the hour, so I will
Wow.
take us up. I know, and then you have a whole day ahead of you, but you are. I give you permission to go back to sleep.
I
Um,
think I will
in
actually have
your
to tell
in
you.
your in your Perth, Western Australian bed. Um,
Yeah.
and you can wake up later and it was just a dream that you visited Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, I have to thank you, Ariel, for having me. And like, it's wonderful to be doing this while we're in a 7-day isolation
That's
because my
right.
son has COVID. So, and hoping we don't get it, but we're all vaccinated, so we're all good, and yeah,
Yeah.
we should be fine. But this is a lovely thing to do while we're in isolation.
Man, oh man, it's just surprising to me how we're still hearing these stories, and you're
Mm,
living it right now. So
mm,
forgive me for calling it a story when it's not a story, it's a reality. But it's so surprising that it's like, yes, my son has COVID. Yes, I have COVID. Yes, my friend has COVID. It's like,
mm.
wow. I'm also, after I finished Station 11 on my, big road trip, I started re-listening to a book by the title Hamnet. Have you read it?
Oh, I think I've heard about it.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend
Mm,
it. It is Maggie O'Farrell is the writer, and it starts off with this idea that the name Hamlet and Hamnet were interchangeable. They were virtually used the same. Um,
mm,
and so this book takes place in it bounces back and forth, flashbacks, etc. But it's basically about Shakespeare's son Hamlet or Hamnet,
mm.
and proposes that he named the play Hamlet after his son, and that it was part of his grieving process, expressive therapy, to write this play, because his son had died from the plague. So I read this book,
Oh yes,
not
I did read
realizing.
that the other day, that Shakespeare had a child who had died during the plague.
Yeah, and it's interesting from the standpoint of living through a pandemic now. This was my second
Mm,
time through this book, and
mm-hmm.
one of the things that stuck out to me this time, because the first time I read it, or listened to it on Audible. I do read actual books in
Mm-hmm.
paper, but also Audible is a thing. And the first time I listened to it, it was earlier in the pandemic. And so I don't think this
Mm-hmm.
line exactly stuck out to me, but this time, 2 years into COVID, um, there was a line about how the the playhouses were closed again because it was plague season. And just that idea that, oh yeah, this is just like a season, like it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes, and how long that lasted. So beautiful writing though, and really interesting premise, really beautiful writing. I recommend it.
Oh, nice. I'll add that one to my almost toppling list by my bedside of books.
I know. You and me both.
Yeah.
So I'm starting the process of recording a new album. I just released my most recent album came out last summer, and or in summer 2020, and so in 2 weeks I go back into the studio and start tracking, and this is one of the songs that we're going to be doing. And I was thinking about, I've come to this side of the pandemic writing love songs, because it's such a, it's just been, it was. Just a really beautiful thing to be, of all the people, all the billions of people on this planet, that the one that I was quarantined with was the absolute love of my life. And so I wrote this song. I was thinking back to when we first started dating, really the first day that we met, but also I was thinking about how when we were early in our relationship, he said to me, "Oh, I'm just a like a distraction, like just a fallback for, or whatever it is, like, meanwhile, when he had said that to me, I was like, no, I know that you are that one for me. You are the, you are the one. So this is a song called Worth Waiting For.
Oh, nice.
You stepped out in silhouette, barefoot, glowing, sounding out my name. Laughter and chatter, a splash, the poolside band began to play. And what can I say? And baby, you're not a fallback, a rebound, distraction, no flash in the pan. And baby, you're not a trinket, a trophy, a token to show on my hand. You are everything worth waiting for. Underneath a canopy of branches, the shadows dapple light of sun. It's gonna take my whole life to show you you are the one. You are the one. 'Cause baby, you're not a fallback, a rebound, distraction, no flash in the pan. And baby, you're not a trinket, a trophy, a token to show on my hand. You are not the bottom of a bottle, a charm bracelet bauble tangled with stars and a horse. You are not a sweet drink, no Ferris wheel fling. You are everything worth waiting for. charm bracelet bauble tangled with stars and a horse. You and I a sweet dream, no Ferris wheel fling. You were everything. You were everything worth waiting for. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That is nice to have someone sit here and have someone else play a song for you.
Isn't it? I enjoy it every week. I'm like, this takes me back to my childhood when my dad would strum his guitar and I'd just sit there and have a song sung to me. And yeah. I like it too.
It's very lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And thank you for waking up so early and for sharing your time and your thoughts and your songs.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly the time went. An hour and it's like, boom, wow. Yeah.
I know. That's why they call me Quicksilver. Time just goes.
Great name too, Arielle Silver. It's a really good name.
Natalie D-Napoleon. Not so bad yourself. What is that D hyphen? I've never seen a name like that before.
Oh yeah, so it's Damjanovic Napoleon. It's Croatian.
Ah.
Yeah, it's been that way for a couple of 100 years in my dad's side of the family, and my mum and dad and everyone else has always shortened it to D-Napoleon. Just seemed a better performer name than Damjanovic Napoleon, since no one can spell it nor remember it. So,
It's a mouthful for sure. And the D
but I'm very
hyphen.
proud of my full name, but this is just a better performer name.
Yeah, and it's unusual to see that hyphen in a name like that.
Yeah, so that's
cool.
why that's there.
Natalie, I am so excited to make your acquaintance. It was so nice to talk with you, and I can't wait till you get back out here to Santa Barbara, Los Angeles area, and I can't wait to ever in my lifetime get to Australia. I don't know when that will happen, but that just sounds so interesting and cool.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful country, and once you get out into the outback, and it's just there's so much magnificent stuff, nature and the light and the wonderful indigenous communities and all the things that are happening out there. It's just
that would be a
it's
dream
great.
come true.
You'd love it.
Yeah,
and
I think I would.
I miss America, and I cannot wait to get back to visit people and play and. I'd love to meet you in person one day too. That'd be nice.
And maybe I'll see you at Americana Fest or Folk Alliance or one of those things sometime. You stay right there. Oh, before I actually let you go, is there anything in particular that you would like the listening audience to do to support you? How can they be good music citizens, music fans to support your work in the world?
Yeah, I have a PayPal.
Ah, great.
I can never remember it though, but I think it's just PayPal me, Natalie D-Napoleon, which I put in my Facebook page link. Sorry, I'm just looking this up now.
Is there a hyphen after the D for that one, or is it just a... I'm going to put it in the chat box.
Where did I put it?
And where do you most love people to listen to your music? Do you have, a particular preference or... Bandcamp, YouTube, Spotify.
Bandcamp for me. I'm still trying to find my PayPal me. Oh, seriously.
And you're coming
out
with...
I think it's just PayPal me, Natalie D-Napoleon, but I have to find the exact thing. But it's all in my Facebook music page, which is Natalie D-Napoleon Music. You won't have trouble finding it.
Facebook.com. I'm writing it right now in the chat. Facebook.com, Natalie D hyphen. Yes. Napoleon. Music at the end of that? Mm-hmm. Natalie D-Napoleon Music. I think I got that right. Awesome.
Everything's taking its time to load up today.
Well, we can update the comment section of the podcast.
Oh yeah, it is paypal.me/Natalie D Napoleon, no hyphens or anything in there.
Natalie D, no hyphens. D Napoleon. I think I got that. So I invite the folks who are listening. I know that you love music. I know that you love the show. I know that you appreciate all the guests that come on. And it's really just, a passion project and everybody just helping to keep the promotion and the music and the stories flowing. So I hope that you'll support Natalie and the other guests that come on the show. Natalie,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You stay there. I'll say a civilized goodbye to you in the green room where we
All
first
right.
met. And I'll say goodbye to you all right here. Thank you for joining. If you are enjoying the show, whether this is your first time tuning in or whether you have been watching past episodes, this was episode 92. 92 weeks of guests coming onto the show and talking about their creativity, life as an artist in the time of COVID, and of course, playing music and talking about books. And if you want to support me and my music, you can go to ariellesilvermusic.com or follow the link that's scrolling by on the screen. And I greatly appreciate the support in any way it comes, all the ways, like, heart, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do. Thank you so much. Take good care. Until we meet next week, same time, same place.